This is Newcap News with Elise Cox.
Good evening. Vermilion RCMP were dispatched to a fatal motor vehicle collision on Highway 16 near Innisfree, Alberta. The collision involved a 49-year-old male pedestrian who was crossing the highway northbound when he was struck by a vehicle headed westbound. The driver then proceeded without stopping, and the pedestrian was pronounced dead at the scene. The name of the deceased is being withheld at this time. The suspect's vehicle is described as a dark green 1990 to 1995 Dodge Caravan. The minivan will have extensive front damage and will be missing its grille. If you have any information, contact the Vermilion RCMP detachment. And there was a collision involving a train and a vehicle late last night in the Vermilion area. At about 8:30 p.m., a man driving a vehicle headed north on Range Road 54 was attempting to cross the train intersection when he was struck by the oncoming locomotive. The driver sustained non-fatal injuries and was taken by ambulance to an Edmonton hospital. RCMP are not releasing further details at this time, but are stressing the importance of crossing train tracks. Canada Day long weekend is known to be full of celebration and fireworks, but the Lloydminster Fire Department has dealt with their fair share of reports of illegal use within the city. Bart Padyasik has more.
Fireworks are a staple in Canada Day celebrations, and they can be safe when handled properly.
Where you do get the problems is these people that want to set their own ones off, and generally they don't do that until they've had a few drinks, and you get that mix and there's bound to be trouble.
The recent weather may help with the danger, but people should still stay smart.
We've been fortunate enough in the last week or two that we've had enough rain that there shouldn't be any problems. However, that's not to say there can't be problems. So again, if you play safe and you play smart and abide by the rules, there shouldn't be any issues.
If you set off fireworks in a provincial park, you can be held accountable for the cost of putting it out.
You look at the cost of the Slave Lake thing. So you start something like that going, there could be big problems.
If you're caught setting off fireworks in the city, you will get a $250 fine along with a seizure of your fireworks. Bart Padyasik, Newcap News.
And Emmett Murphy joins me now on the desk for our first look at sports, and CPCA is in Little Pine this weekend.
The final stop before the Calgary Stampede. Valuable points on the line. Coming into the stop, a small collection of drivers have dominated the season. The Mitswings have won over half of the day monies, and Vern Nolan has stayed atop the SIGA Pro Tour leaderboard for the past couple weeks. So who would take the first day money of Little Pine?
Gordy McCallum.
In the biggest shocker this year, old Gordy McCallum ran across the line in the fastest time Friday. He actually shared that distinction with another snake-bitten driver this year, Bob Van Eaton. With the day win, Eaton has jumped into 8th spot in the Tour. McCallum sits 15th. So after day one of Little Pine, the standings look like this. Vern Nolan is hanging on to top spot by just 9 points over Wayne Knight. Brian Labacane, who had his best show of the year in Wainwright, is closing the gap at the top. BJ Carey, who had a phenomenal start to the year, is still staying in contention with some good driving. And the reigning Calgary Stampede rookie driver winner, Lane Bremner, slides into 5th, just 1 point ahead of Chance Bensmiller. In the Outriders standings, Mick Nolan maintains a decent lead over Casey Knight, who led the standings heading into last week. A couple of Mitswings are sandwiching the always contending Rory Gervais, but he's going to continue a downward slide. He dislocated his knee in Wainwright and is doubtful for the year. 27 of the best teams from across Alberta are at Legion Park this weekend for the Softball B Provincials. The turnout is great for this year's event. There are 11 U12 teams, which organizer Brad Zur says is beyond the norm. The Blues are well represented with 3 competitive teams, while the Lloydminster Rebels have 1 squad. In this morning's opening ceremonies, fans were treated to Blues athletes displaying other talents. And And the ceremony's wrapped up with longtime Alberta Zone Rep Glenda Campbell throwing the first pitch.
I'm hoping that we see some really exciting ball through the weekend here. I know that we have, leading up to this, some of our teams have performed well enough that we know they're going to be right in there. Whomever comes out on top, as long as there's good ball being played here, I think it's a benefit to the sport and to our organization for having put it on.
Well, that's all the time we have for now. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.
Good night.
Makeup provided by Vivid Hair and Aesthetics.